Hello and welcome. My name is Marantha O'Rourke. Today is a honest and truthful sharing of my experience in the last 3.5 months and the last 2 years and off and on in other moments. But generally, as most of you know, I've been away for a period of time for personal reasons, for other reasons, but also for things that have happened and what I've been going through. And I've had many of you message me and ask me to help you, um, to ask where I am and what's going on. And I couldn't respond. I wasn't able to. So today is my sharing of my journey, like I said, with honesty and truth and authenticity. And I'm going to say this properly because it didn't just happen on the surface. This is my own personal experience. This is what I have lived through for a long period of time, but especially recently. And it's been nearly 4 months now, actually. How I felt and what I came to understand while I was still going through this part of my journey, going through this process. Now, you don't have to agree with it, and you don't have to take anything from it. Just sit, listen, take what resonates and leave the rest. Today is not about anybody else, per se. It's about where I'm at through experiences and things that I've been going through personally. And like I said, because so many have been asking, I thought, well, maybe it's time to share a little bit of it. And I'm also sharing this for those of you that have been coming to me in the last 2 weeks since I've returned to work, who are asking some very deep personal questions on their soul journey and asking some very deep truths. And because of some of you, or the position you're in as well, and how it aligns with my own journey at the moment, your personal journeys have made me want to step forward and to speak. So what I'm going to talk about today is not in full detail because it'll go on too long, but bits of what I've been going through, why I've been away a little bit, how I felt, what I've seen, what I've been through, and what has got me to here. So I want to begin with saying I was deeply in spirituality and the New Age movement and that belief system, not casually, and it wasn't something I just sort of followed. It became the way I saw absolutely everything in myself, in my life, and the external world. It shaped how I understood myself. It shaped how I understood other people. And it shaped how I thought I understood life. And I had real experiences in the time that I've been away in the last 2 years, but we're talking about the last 4 months, roughly. I had very real experiences. I've left my body. I felt myself exist out of this actual physical space, this place. And I've experienced places that didn't feel like I'd imagined them, per se. They were real in a way that's hard to explain unless you've actually been there yourself, whether it's through out of body or near-death experiences. And there was a peace there that I realised on the other side that didn't exist here. A beautiful stillness and a love that didn't need anything at all. And there was love too in my journey, but not the kind we talk about here. There was love over there. It's not an emotional love. It's not an attached type love. It's just a love that exists in all things there. And having those sort of experiences while I've been away, and like I said, in the last 2 years, but mainly in the last 4 months, those experiences have very much mattered to me personally because I realised in the time that I've been away, and the reason that I feel this has happened also for me is that I've been away for so long from a belief system, the community, and everything that has been a part of that for me. So I've been on what was told to me a sabbatical type thing. I don't mean sabbatical as in spiritual, religious, or otherwise. I just mean time away, where I'm on my own. I have time to think. I am not under the perception of or perceiving of others or the belief system. I'm just me. And I had a deep, profound moment or moments that actually happened for me during this time away. And I mean, I was alone. I kept to myself through necessity, through needing to. And I just went into the space of nothing, just being here, present and now, in my life, and nothing else. So that was a profound moment in itself. And all this over that period of time has completely changed me. It gave me a sense that there was more to life than this. And for a long time, that felt like the absolute truth of everything. But at the same time, during this process, something else was happening underneath, inside of me. And I could feel all this before I could even explain what it might be. It was subtle. Things that used to feel very right for me, absolutely in my heart, absolutely knowing, just didn't land the same way anymore, didn't feel the same, didn't feel right. Not obviously wrong per se. I could put a finger on what the wrong might have been. It just felt like things were slightly off in what I used to believe in. And I didn't want to question it, because when something like that you've been deeply immersed in helps you, it gives you some meaning to your life. You feel like you belong, you feel like you're a part of something, you're on the right track. It gives you a sense of purpose even. But it makes your life feel like it makes sense. So you hold on to that. You don't want to lose that. But during all that moment of realizing this, that's when life really hit for me. And when I say life hit, it didn't hit gently or properly or right or wrong or as I thought it would. It began for me, the first part, or some of the first part. I had a lot of personal things that I was going through for myself, physically, emotionally, mentally, that I was dealing with, and I had to go through every day. It included some suffering, some fear, some having to face. But it wasn't extremely serious, but it was enough to make me look at life. Because in that moment of my personal experience, I was having to sit still. I couldn't speak. I wasn't able to talk physically, and I had to face how I felt about all that. So when I say sabbatical, I mean sabbatical on every level. Not being able to speak, not being able to do anything, um, being placed in nothingness, basically. And around that time, we started around December-ish. Yeah, December. Wasn't long after that my mother passed away. And everything shifted in a way that I wasn't prepared for that. We were estranged. She was in another country, so it was out of my hands of how things were. But the beauty of her passing was there was two things that were happening inside of me at that time, at the same time. So I knew a part of me that she was gone, but I didn't get a chance to say goodbye or to even know that that was happening. And the other part of me was the part of we were estranged. We hadn't said enough words and we hadn't had any contact. I knew that her passing, that through what I'd experienced myself and what I went through in December, I knew that we don't just end. I knew that there was no death. And that helped me to get some through the emotional loss. It kept me calm and steady and certain and knowing. And then I had a visit from her 3 times recently during that period of time. First one was pretty much a couple of days after. And that led to a lot of forgiveness, conversation, love, and knowing that we are loved no matter what on the other side. We are loved no matter what here. If you'd like to know a little bit more about that, I have done a recording on my Out of Body YouTube channel where I speak about my out of body experiences, what I've gone through partially, and I talk about how I left my body and physically went home. So yes, I left, but in that moment I got to see her and spend time with her. So the YouTube channel, if you wish to watch that, is Out of Body Experiences 8888. And on there you'll find the recording where it says about my mother and a couple of other ones that'll be posted at the moment and more will be posted over time. So if you want to hear about the impact of meeting your loved ones on the other side, how that was, the story behind that, what I learned by going home to the other side, it starts about halfway through that video. I think it's about exactly halfway in if you want to try and just listen to that part of my conversation and time with her, of the impact it had, what I know now, etc. You're more than welcome. So when it came to her passing, one of the things I realized is that I didn't need to know spiritually anything about her. My belief system at that point was null and void. The only part that mattered was me, her, our relationship, her passing, and how we dealt with it. So I didn't look to her, see if she was evolving, entering her highest light, needed any assistance from me whatsoever, because her soul, I realized, which you'll hear on the video, that her soul was in full command of her exiting, of her leaving, and it had an idea of where and what it was supposed to do, plus the assistance she would have received. And the celebration for her, the celebration for others when they go home, of how they're celebrated and loved. Anyway, go and watch the video on my YouTube channel, Out of Body Experiences 8888, and that'll give you a more in-depth story of what I went through, how it changed me, what I experienced, etc., and how my spirituality at that time was null and void, meant nothing. My humanness, the love, the truth of who I am meant more. And the reason I released the spiritual side of me during that process is that I realized she didn't need me to understand her in that way. She didn't need me to judge her to see if she had any attachments. She didn't need me to guide her back home to her highest light and to her greatest love. That was already within her. And her passing, part of her passing, is one of the times that things started to become very real for me. And I knew that knowing something spiritually, how unimportant it was at that time. because in that moment of her passing was a real moment of humanness and love. So I was learning at that time, this is through the one experience, I was learning at that time that my spirituality held no value and of no use for me when it came to the loss of someone that was you loved as your mother. And it no need to use my spirituality to remove the humanness inside of me, that to just be human, to grieve, to feel, to love was more important. And I had to sit with that because those two worlds, being human, being spiritual, were kind of at heads with one another, contradicting one another a little bit. And around the same time, we also lost, it was only a couple of days apart basically, we also lost someone else within the family that was very much loved, very close to everyone, that I had very fond memories of, not on my side, but on my husband's side, who we loved and just adored. And that person's passing was a bit like my mother's. My mother had decided to leave through not good terms, through suffering, and just gave up. So she kind of ended her life. It wasn't that her life took her, it kind of did in a way, but in the end it was her choice. And she was left in a position of not doing as she should have, and that was not because she didn't do as she was told, she just chose at that time that she'd had enough. And the other person that I'm speaking of also went through the same process where she made a choice and then her health came in and finished the chance to leave. So both were traumatic, both were unexpected. One was, well, you can't compare them, but one was more traumatic than the other of how that happened, and it wasn't very nice. So that double whammy was a big deal for us at that time, for myself. And there were no moments in that where anything could have fixed that. No words, no explaining why it happened. And again, in that moment, in that loss, I had, and I speak for myself, I had a lot of responsibility at that time. There was a lot going on for me personally. I was caring for someone that I loved who was going through a very, very difficult period, who was not only struggling but had a major health issue as well. And it was almost like everything was stacking in on top of me to the point where it was too much. So around that time, when he was going through that difficult period, I just sat with him. And I just sat with the loss of the others, the other two, and then my own stuff. And I just sat with it all. And by sitting with someone you love, with no words, no fixing anything, no explaining anything of why it's happening, what's behind it, what it is, again, it challenged my spirituality, because one of the problems when you're in a belief system is that you look at everything as a reason to be fixed, to be explained away, what is going on, why it's going on, what might be connected to the reason it's going on. There's all this list of stuff that you start rambling and looking for. And you realize that that in itself takes away from being human, from the humanness of just sitting with love. Because through all this, including my own personal stuff, one of the things that I came to the conclusion of is I realized that instead of sitting with my human self, grieving, exhaustion, fear, I don't know, and everything that came with that, One of the worst things that I could have done was looking at all of this as a reason behind it, to blame something outside of the situation. So I realized something very simple in those moments of just sitting and being with the ones you love. That there was actually nothing to fix. There was nothing to say that was going to make it any better, make it go away, stop it, change it, or control it. All that mattered through the last 4 months was me just being there. Fully there. Not partially, not looking for what, why, not looking for attachments, not looking for an excuse or a reason. Just being human in what I was going through, fully there, present in the moment, even though it was overwhelming. And that showed me something I hadn't fully understood completely before. There's a difference between knowing something and actually being present with somebody or someone. And the two can clash. One, between knowing something can sometimes take you away from unconditional love, compassion for someone. And everything started to build after that. The grieving I was going through, it didn't come in one moment. It started to stack one on top of the other, one on top of the other. And then stress came in and sat on top of that. Exhaustion began to build underneath it all. Fear grew. And over time, it became more than I could completely handle and hold on to. And it wasn't sudden and it wasn't dramatic. It was slow, steady, and built over that period of time. And I reached a point where I was tired. Not like normal tired, not the tired where you can just go and have a nap to get rid of it or have a moment or have a cup of coffee. I mean deep, deep, tired beyond tired. Emotionally tired, physically tired, and mentally tired. And I'll put a disclosure in here. I won't touch too deeply because some of this does go into what was going on around us, but the disclosure or disclaimer in that way is some of this is talking about people not wanting to live anymore, wanting to not be here, which is very personal for a lot of people. A lot of people have experienced this either themselves personally or watched others that they love or have known that have decided to end their lives. So I want to let you know that I won't be touching into that deeply. I'll be just going above the surface level of that, out of respect for others. But I was said today I'm going to speak openly and honestly about the last 4 months. There were moments where I didn't want to be here anymore. And I need to say that clearly and honestly and authentically. It wasn't because I wanted to die, but because I didn't want to feel what I was feeling anymore. There is a difference. And because I'd experienced and had many out-of-body experiences, I knew what it felt like to not have to carry that weight by being in your body anymore. And because I know the relief and the peace that comes with that, I wanted that again. I wanted to feel that again, not be here. Not to leave my life completely, but just to leave the feeling and the stress and the exhaustion that I was going through. And I had to be very honest about that. That when something started to become very clear while I was going through all this, there is a part of all of us that looks for relief when things become too hard or too much to handle. And sometimes that relief shows up as something that feels like a truth for you, something that feels like it understands you, something that feels it has all the answers for you. But what it really is a way to move away from what you're feeling. And I felt that in myself as well. I felt the need or the pull to not sit in it. I felt the need and the pull to hand it over to something else, a belief, a knowing, a something. And I felt the pull to make it all go away. And I understood why I felt like that, because it hurt. It was a deep hurt that I was going through that no words could explain. But I also saw something else in what I was experiencing, what I didn't face. And that was I needed to stay. I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave behind what was going on. I couldn't not be there. I made a promise. And all this didn't disappear. It didn't resolve itself just by thinking that either. It just sat with me. And at the same time, something else was happening. In the small moments of what I was going through. And I'm going to be honest about this as well. Truly honest. What I was going through was more than most people could handle at one time. And in that moment of the suffering that I was going through, I started to feel like I wasn't being seen. Not in an obvious way, not in a harsh way, but just in a simple, quiet way. And the problem with what I was experiencing is that it was when I needed help, even from myself. And I turned to my spirituality, the belief system, the movement. All I felt was I was not being seen for what I was going through, that my humanness and what I really needed was not being met. So in the spiritual side of it, instead of seeing myself, who was in need, who just needed love, who just needed someone to sit with them and see them as they were in grief, in exhaustion, in mental, emotional, physical exhaustion, fear, and everything else that comes with all that when you're overwhelmed. And I just needed to sit quietly with someone who understood that and someone who could see that. The spiritual side of all this didn't support this at all. It was seen as failing, attachments, something wrong with me feeling this way, and something external outside of me was causing it. And I can say with all honesty that it absolutely wasn't. I was in my life going through grief, stress, fear, hardship, worry, feeling out of control, not knowing what to do, and not being able to save the ones I love. And the spiritual side of all this saw none of that, and only saw fault in that it was almost as if being spiritually interpreted in a way that was, like I said, failure, not allowed to feel that way. And there was something wrong with me and something wrong with all of what was happening. And that's hard for me to say so because I too have believed all this as well. And sometimes life is just life. That's what we're here to experience. The ups and the downs, the goods and the bad, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes life is just too fucking hard. And in those times, one of the worst things after what I experienced is to see it spiritually as something external or outside of you, whether you're blaming yourself, judging, or being judged by a belief system for not being in your highest light at that moment. and seeing everything as fractured that needs to be dealt with, removed, or whatever. And in that moment of not being seen, not being allowed to grieve, not being allowed to fail, not being allowed to just be human, I realized something very deep and very important, not only from what was happening, but myself. When did I allow myself to be trapped in a belief system that doesn't allow me to be human and to be in my experience? When did I allow myself to be so spiritual that I couldn't even see in myself, others, or even allow others to see in me fault, failure, judgment, and things outside of me in that way? When did I allow my spirituality to become non-compassionate? And I don't mean non-compassionate in a way that it was intentional, but when did I allow a belief system to see past me as I was in that moment and only see me as what it thinks it is? When in realization, I was a human being sitting in grief, sitting in fear, sitting in failure, sitting in I don't know anymore, and it never saw me. It never truly opened its heart and to see me and to hold me in that space, to be compassionate and understanding. When do we become a movement that only sees what we want to see and lose our compassion for those that are just in a moment that is overwhelming and allow them to have that? When do we start to judge those who suffer? And it was seen as, I'm not my highest light, there's something wrong with me. And all those parts in spirituality that think that way. And it was also interpretation of something external outside of me that was causing this. And from that moment is when I broke. From that moment is when I realized I'm not being seen. I'm not being honored for being human. And I'm only seen as a product of a belief system that fractured my mind, it broke my heart, and it left me dead in the water, speechless, to be honest. And not being allowed to be human and allowed to be myself and allowed to be not in my highest light, which is a great lie, by the way. But anyway, but not being my highest light all the time and being in that place continually that I was seeing as failing, faulting, not myself, something's wrong. And yeah, something was wrong. I was broken. I was grieving. And I just needed to be allowed to do that. I just needed to be allowed to be where I was. And the belief system, and I'll own it, my own belief system did not allow that. So everything I was going through was turned spiritually into something else, explained away, interpreted away, cleared away, activated away, whatever. Choose a word. And what happened is that through that I realized by being interpreted so quickly, it denied what was really happening. I was not under attack. I was not infiltrated, compromised. I was not losing my light. I was just being human. And over time, because that broke me, and when I say broke me, I don't mean, oh, that didn't feel good. That doesn't resonate. That doesn't seem true. Because everything was going on being interpreted spiritually, I can tell you now, was not true. There was not one bit of truth in it whatsoever. And I could feel that shift me. And what I realized in that moment is that everything I believed with all my heart, everything I believed to be true, was no longer meeting me with love. Everything I believed was not meeting me with love. It was trying to shape me into keep believing what I've told you, to fit into the narrative, to fit into the belief system, to be only spiritual. And the hardest thing to realize was, when did we start becoming so uncompassionate that we see being human as sometimes being in lowest light and not being of love, not being in our highest light? When did we start becoming so judgmental on that we're losing people and forgetting people, the ones that truly need us? And I was one of those. It wasn't just that I wasn't being heard per se, it was that I was being seen only through spirituality. And when that happens, you stop being a person in that moment. You only become a product of that belief system. You become something to interpret, something to fix, something to move on. Because not being in your highest light seems to be a sin, a failure. And I felt that very deeply. I wasn't seen as someone who was hurting. I wasn't seen as someone who just needed to be sat with and sit with what I was feeling. I was seen as someone who needed to be cleared, shifted, and realigned. I need to be really honest about what that did to me. It didn't help me at all. It fractured me into a million pieces, shattered my mind, shattered my heart, and left me feeling alone, cold, and abandoned. And I know this is going to hurt people, and I know it's going to trigger people, and people are not going to believe me, and it's going to push against the belief system itself of the movement. And after what I've gone through, I cannot lie anymore. I have to say the truth. I've been home because of it. I left here. I didn't want to be here, as I said. I left. I went home. I entered the void. I spoke to Source, God itself. And the things I saw in there when I left, fractured, broken, heartbroken, and I returned home. And I don't mean I had a meditation and a vision. I mean, I walked out of my body. I left my body behind, and I went home. And I saw things and was shown things that completely contradicted what I thought I believed. Completely contradicted a lot of what the belief system is on this earth. And that has changed me forever. Because I was already struggling. And going through all this experience, I was being shown all the time, whether consciously or unconsciously, directly or indirectly, that the way I was feeling wasn't right. So as I was going through that feeling, I started questioning myself, which was the worst thing I could have done, that's what created the last of the fracturing and the brokenness. Because of what I was seeing and what was going on around me and what I was told spiritually, I started to judge myself because there was judgment. And I questioned, am I wrong for feeling like this? Am I missing something? Am I not doing things properly? What's wrong with me then? And that's what becomes very dangerous for you. Because now you're not just holding your pain, you're doubting your reality at the same time. And when your reality gets fractured by a belief system and unseen, and you start to doubt your reality, that's what breaks you. It's not dramatic, but it's very real. It's very internal. And I felt like my mind was splitting because it was. One part of me knew what I was feeling was real, and another part of me was trying to override it all the time of what I thought I should be feeling. Oh, I should be feeling in my highest light. And that tension, that disconnects. It's a feeling that disconnects you from all things. And this is where something became very, very clear for me. And I don't say this lightly, and I know, as I said, some of you are not going to be happy about hearing this, but it's true. When everything is filtered through a belief system, we lose our ability to actually meet people where they're at. Not because we don't care, but because we're not seeing them anymore. We're only seeing what they represent, what they need to become, and what we think is happening, instead of what is actually in front of us and what really matters. And that's where compassion starts to change. It's not that it disappears, it becomes filtered through something, a belief. And when compassion is filtered through a belief system, it stops being real. Because real compassion doesn't move someone, it doesn't correct them, it doesn't need to change what's happening for them. True unconditional love, which is what I was shown from going home to Source, true unconditional love, it just sits with, doesn't judge, doesn't fix, doesn't force its opinion upon it or its belief upon it. It just sits with in love. And I didn't have that, not in the way I needed it. And then through that came the part that was the hardest for me to face. And I shed, I don't mean hours of tears, I mean weeks of sobbing. Because I had to face the fact I had done the same thing. And that's what hurt as well. The realization that I had to look at the moments that I'd probably done the same. Because I thought it to be right. I thought, there were moments I thought I was helping people by giving them understanding, by trying to move them into some sort of awareness to reach their highest light. But I wasn't fully seeing them all the time. And I could see that clearly now. I had allowed a belief system to override my natural compassion for all things. Not intentionally. None of us do this intentionally. Well, some do, for their egoicness, to feel special, to feel the chosen, to feel the one, to feel the guru, the master above all. But it's not always intentional, but it happened. And that's when everything had to stop still. Because I could feel where this was leading to. If I kept going like that, I would lose myself. I would lose something real inside of me. And I couldn't do that anymore. So I stopped. I stopped trying to fix everything. I stopped trying to interpret everything through spirituality immediately. And I stopped trying to turn my experience into something that it wasn't. And I did something much simpler. I let go. I stayed present. I stayed here and now in love. And I stayed with what I was actually feeling, with what was actually happening. I stayed present in the worst of it. I allowed myself to be human. I allowed myself to grieve, break, not know, fracture, and everything else that I spoke of. I just sat with it and let it happen and all the pain of what I could not handle. And in doing so, that's when the greatest act of compassion came. It didn't come through being spiritual. It didn't come through the knowledge that I'd learned. It came through nothing. It came through being present, by being open and letting go. And that's where absolutely everything changed for me. I realized that everything suddenly got a little easier, just day by day, not straight away, because I was finally able to meet myself properly. And from that place is where real compassion came back into me. And some of the things I learned when I left here, too, out of my body, taught me the same. That we are loved as we are, no matter what. Through the worst of things and through the best of things. We are loved as we are. And we're not here to chase our highest light. We're not here to become anything other than what we already are. Each and every one of us holds a God spark within us. That's how we were created. We have done no wrong. We are just here on an experience. We are experiencing that which we are not, which we have forgotten, and we are going to remember eventually that we are. So to chase something, to become your highest light all the time, to become an ascended master, to believe that we are to continually chase favor with God or Source, that we are continually meant to change everything about us to become perfection and light, is one of the greatest lies on this earth that I've ever seen. And I didn't make this up. I didn't just get to this point through what I was experiencing. I was told this by the heart of Source itself and by some others that I've spoken to out of my body when I left here. I got shown truth. I got shown love in its rawest, truest form. And one of the things that, while I was there, was very clear that everything is as it should be. Whether we liked it or not is not under our judgment to change it, attack it, fuck with it, and make it something that we think it should be, no matter what that is. All things are created as they should be in unconditional love and accepted as that is, as it was created. So therefore we don't need to chase any damn thing. Everything that we've been created as is already within us. That light that we're always chasing, why are we chasing something that we already are and already have? It was given to us by the highest of love, which is Source, God, whatever you want to call it. And that showed me exactly that. There is nothing to chase that is not already within you. It is your choice whether you choose love with that or to be without love, to have the experience that you're having. Each and every soul on this earth is here for an individual experience. No two souls are the same. We'll have similarities by the experience or the incarnation we choose to have. But all things matter, all things are loved, no matter what. So therefore to chase our highest light is unnecessary because we already are love. We already are that light. And I asked, prove it, show me. And many things I was told, but what I was shown was, one of the important things was, how it proved it to me was, do you not already exist? Have you not already been created by the highest of love? Do you not already matter, no matter what your choices are and what you choose to experience? I said, yes. Oh, then, as it said to me, well, then you already are in your highest light. You already are loved as you are. So what are you chasing? To chase something, continually to chase light is judgment upon the self. To continually chase something that which you already are is denying that you already are loved. And from that is when the change happened for me. It wasn't just what I was experiencing in the movement and the belief system, but it was going home. And when that happens to you, you do not come back the same. You cannot, because now you have lived truth, fully conscious, fully awake in your soul, right in front of you. And that took all the rosy coloured glasses away and took all the blindfolds away of what I thought I knew, what was the truth. Do I still believe in things? Do I still see things? Do I still communicate with? Do I still have experiences? Absolutely. But it'll never be the same. We're not here to prove favour to God. We're not here to prove favour to anything. Nothing is above us. There is no hierarchy. There is only truth. There is only love. And from that place, finally meeting myself and going home and being shown and told, real true compassion came back. I came home. My soul and I are one. I no longer walk as just me having the experience. I know for a fact I am a soul having a human experience, and I am experiencing here that which I am not on the other side, which I have forgotten about. The power within me, the power as a soul, the truth of who I am and who we all are. And one of the most powerful statements that I received by being visited by someone that we're all aware of, I won't go into that here, but he said to me, as to your belief, my darling, that what you believe will be so in front of you and you will experience. And that rocked my world, because I've known of that statement many times. I've spoken about it, but this is when I really felt it. And it was shown to me again, as to your belief, it shall be so. If you believe it to be, then it will be present, it will be so, and it will manifest in front of you. And I asked, well, what do I do with that? And I was shown, love it. Love yourself where you are at. Meet yourself where you are. Be in your humanness. That is why you came here, to experience such a thing. Love yourself where you are, whether that is in a good place or not a good place. Do not judge. Do not fight. Do not attack. Learn to live with. Learn to live with your emotions. Learn to live with the fact of this place, of what it is and how you navigate that. But always return back to love, even in the moments you cannot cope or cannot handle. And that rocked me. Because now I come back from that place with a sense of knowing, fully awake in the soul, fully conscious, fully aware. And it's not something that I had to learn. It's not something I practiced or got out of a book. I lived it. It's natural within me. And that is the reason why we're all here. We're here to experience, but we're also here to wake up within. The soul wakes up within us. That brings back all information, knowing and truth from the other side back to here, so that we can change each and every one of us into remember that we are loved. So from all that, I didn't need to rush or fix any damn thing. I didn't need to explain anything. I was just told to sit and be present, then no matter what. And from all that, I realised I knew what it like to not be seen. I knew what it's like to not be understood. I knew what it's like to be, I look back on being ostracised, blocked, all the flying monkey stuff, all the told that I'm compromised, all the told that I'm dark, all the stuff that I'm told that I wasn't right, because I challenged the narrative. I challenged the belief system of what I knew to be true. I've seen where thoughts are real and they do project and on the other side and become truth, become real right in front of you. But in that moment, they taught me that no matter what I see, no matter what is happening and what is there, that it becomes real within that moment. The soul is full command of self in the power of love, which then removes all that you are experiencing or seeing that is not of love. Anything that sits in front of you that is not of love has no power over love itself. Love is the most powerful frequency, state of mind, purpose, whatever, in the complete of knowing of creation. Nothing can beat or override or get in and stop love, unless you believe it can. And I made it very clear to me, I was over there, be careful of your belief of what you think you know and how you see things, even in your hardest moments, even in the worst of times. Because if you believe it to be so, then you will allow it. And because I know what it's like to be seen, to be ostracized, to be seen as compromised, infiltrated, and everything else that comes with those labels, I won't be doing that to anyone else or someone else ever again. If there's anything I've learnt through all of this, is you do not need to become something else to be okay. You don't need to override your experience to grow or ascend. You do not need to be able to meet yourself other than exactly where you are. There is nothing wrong in that. You are not failing. You are not forgotten. You will not be forgotten at all, by the way. There is no being left behind. You do not have to become something other than what you are and what you've chosen to experience to be, whether that aligns with or is agreed with by anyone. And sometimes just sitting in that not fixing it, not changing it, just being there, that's where the real discovery of yourself begins. That is where you find your way, you find who you are, and you love that person. So you're no longer, well, I don't speak for myself, I'm no longer chasing anything. So I've said, I'm no longer chasing spirituality, a movement, a belief system. I am no longer chasing my highest light. I am no longer believing in that which I am not. I am no longer allowing myself to be seen as that either. Because when you come home here and your soul is awake and you and your soul are one, you can see through all the lies, all the bullshit, and all the magic way of thinking. One of the things you've got to be very careful of, being informed, is the being told or allowed or taught to have magical thinking. Because in magical thinking, if you're not careful, your creative mind takes over. It projects the belief system of what you think you believe or know into your life and creates unreality and unrealistic thinking. It can fracture you, it can take you out of your heart, and it can take you into a lifestyle that everything has to meet that belief system as the belief system judges or deems it to be so. And if you don't support or meet that belief system and you fail or fall from that, then you are judged, there is something wrong with you, and you're compromised. You're on your lowest light. None of that is true. That is the judgment of humanity as we've deemed it, decided how spirituality should be. On the other side, none of that exists. None of this belief system exists in that way. Source, God, and galactics and all others do not see or believe that at all. So if you're receiving information, channeling, or sitting in anything that tells you otherwise, piss it off. It's a lie. It's lying to you. Anything that speaks to you should speak to you of how you are, where you are in your humanness, no matter what that may be for you, no matter what you're going through, that you are loved no matter what. And that this is why you're here, to be human, to shift, to find your way, to love. And that everything you are is as it's meant to be because you chose it to be so, even if you don't like it. So we're not ascending per se. We're not moving into a 5D consciousness. Because if you're in a 5D consciousness, unless you can prove to me that you can manifest something right in front of me or right in front of yourself physically, so if I hand you a pen and I say, manifest this in front of me, physically make me a pen. If you can't do that, then you're not in those places. That is a fallacy. What we're here for is to awaken the souls here that have had enough of the shit that's going on here, which is also on the other side. They've also had enough of the shit that's going on here too. And each one of us, including the souls on the other side that are aware of us, they are coming and we are here all together to help us to grow in our humanness as souls, to experience where we are, to remember love. Doesn't mean passive love where you allow love to be all fluffy, light and love. That's a great lie. Not being passive love. Sometimes you need to set boundaries. Sometimes you need to say no. Sometimes you need to call bullshit out where bullshit is. But always return to love no matter what. And have courage to have love, to be love. Which is what we're going through now, is the courage to stand up for what we no longer believe in and no longer will accept and tolerate. That is the shift. There'll be a time where we will realise that we've had enough and we want more. And that's where love will come, and that's where change can happen. But we've got a lot to go through beforehand, even for our own personal selves, of what we need to face. But at the end of this, I want you to know, please don't judge your humanness. Don't allow a belief system or anything within you to judge your human experience. Because life is not perfect, it's not meant to be, otherwise you're not acknowledging why you're here to experience. If you deny through a belief system or anything else, anything within your normal life as it is, and you judge that with a belief system as it's incorrect, not in its highest light, it's failing, any sort of judgment whatsoever, pick anything, then you're not honoring yourself in the most greatest love that you deserve. We are still here on this earth in human form with emotions, and we are doing our best to navigate, to live, to survive. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for that, feel guilty for that, or tell you where you're going wrong. There are times that we need to face things about ourselves. Yes, there's times when things are going, I'd like to not be like that anymore. But do it with love. Don't do it with judgment. And for me, I've realised that spirituality's been a wonderful experience, but it's also been not a good experience. It started to change my personality, my nature, and it started to lead me away from myself. It started to make me believe in things that weren't always true, and it started put me on a journey of facing not the ego, because the ego is a good thing, but egoic nature, where we are taught we are above all those who do not align with us. We are above those who are not awake, and we see them as unworthy. To be asleep is not being unworthy. It just means that you're not fully awake yet, but you will be. To be living your life and experience life here is not a sin. I think it's time, and this is only my personal opinion. I know many of you are not going to like this and you'll disagree with me and you will probably leave. But I want you to take that that chance and the truth to be authentic. I myself am walking away from that which I thought I knew. Not on every level, but on a lot of it. Because it clouded my judgment, it clouded my mind, and made me only see things through spirituality. And I missed the mark many times on my own self and those around me. I saw reasons for things, blamed things, only saw things through spirituality. And it kind of makes you robotic after a while. You know, you do 1,000 retreats, 1,000, kumbayas. It's a forever attaining, trying to reach perfection, trying to prove perfection, trying to prove your worthiness to light. And one thing that I do know for sure is what I've seen on that side that I was shown by the heart of Source itself, God itself, how much light and darkness are at war with each other. Both are in judgment of each other. Both see each other as unworthy, and they're forever at war. Some of the angelic kingdoms are forever at war with one another. They're in egoic judgment. It's not unity. They're not correct. Because each one of those that have been created have a purpose for the end result. This construct has been created as it needed to be created. Are there some areas or timelines that have gone a bit squiffy? Absolutely. But this creation, every level, all 12 to the 13th, have been created in exact timeline as it should be. Certain outcomes are fixed, certain things are fixed that cannot be changed. But this continual judgment of all things has to stop, has to end, including judgment of ourselves, because we're not in the highest light, and judgment of others upon this earth who we see unworthy because they haven't reached their highest light yet. Who are we to say and who are we to know? In fact, I have met many non-spiritual, non-religious, non-anything type, normal everyday people who have more love with them and less judgment within them than some spiritual religious people. I've got to be honest about that. Their love is eternal and beautiful. And we've decided that we are a split earth, and we are judging it as a split earth. The light is judging all things, everything, as worthy or unworthy of its belief system, of its light, whether it's in its highest light or not enough or not. And where have we gone wrong? Where have we got it wrong? Where have we completely lost our way? Because that wasn't the original plan of all things. Is there evil in this world? Is there stuff that I don't agree with? Is there stuff that needs to have courage and love to stand up for? Absolutely. But I'm not talking about that. That's an obvious. I'm talking about the inner belief system of where light has become the ultimate judgment, and it blames everything externally for its own judgment. And I know I'm going to lose a few of you, and I know a few of you are going to talk against and not be happy about this. But this was my life it affected. And it didn't affect it in a way that I thought it would. It nearly completely fucked my life. Nearly fucked me, nearly fucked everything. Because I went off into airy fairy love and light, and I forgot myself and I forgot those that I love. And I wasn't the type of person who was very judgy per se, but I became judgy of those or those that didn't believe. Because I was told they're not in the highest light all the time, that there's something wrong with them, that they're not living up to the ascension, that they're going to be left behind. And the reason I've also done this is the amount of people, which we don't seem to like to acknowledge, we seem to ignore this factor. We don't want to know. The amount of people that have come to me screaming, crying, begging for help because they have been told that everyone they love who isn't spiritual or doesn't follow their highest light is going to be left behind and forgotten about is astronomical. And that's what's pushed me to the point to speak, pushed me out of the community. I'm not saying there's not things in there that I loved and people I loved and situations that were wonderful, because there was. But at the end of it, when I really, truly realized where I was, what I believed and what I was going through, what no longer resonated and what no longer was the love that I thought it was, that's when I had to really make a decision. And no one is to blame. There are things that happened, but I can't blame anyone because I chose it. I chose to do it. I chose to believe it. I chose to experience it. I chose. But through that choosing and eventually leaving, I've woken up and realized where I went wrong. And that's on me, no one else. So to those people that have been contacting me for a long period of time, and I could not help you, I am truly, truly sorry. But I couldn't. I was not in a position to help you. I also couldn't speak. Physically, I couldn't speak. And I was at a point where I couldn't rely on what I knew anymore to help you. I couldn't go back into what I thought I knew to do the right thing by you. I couldn't lie anymore. I couldn't pretend. And I couldn't allow. Because then I'm doing to you what happened to me. So I'm still here for those that want the help. And I've been inundated. So to those that have come and seen me recently, I've literally been nonstop. Thank you. Because each and every one of you have come to me with the same questions. The amount of people that are exiting the community, the belief system, spirituality, that no one seems to want to admit is astronomical. And there's a reason for it. They are not compromised. I won't tolerate it anymore, by the way. They are not under attack. They are not wrong. They are not lower vibration. They are just people in need who cannot resonate and allow it anymore. And they're looking for truth. They're looking for more. And the more they're looking for is for someone to remind them that they are loved no matter what they are told, no matter what is going on in their life. and that everything they're experiencing is part of their experience, but it's okay that it is. So, by my hand and my heart, you will not be forgotten, you will not be judged, and you will not be told where you're failing and not in your highest light. That I can promise you. True love forgets nobody. So again, this is probably going to get me in trouble, but you know what? I have to speak. I have to speak about things that other people are sharing with me, that they're struggling with, that is creating a fracture in the community, in the belief system. There is not unity like everyone likes to believe. There is suffering, there is people hurting, and there's people lost, and people are no longer resonating. And if there's nobody left who has got the balls enough to see them and meet them where they're at, then we're doing something wrong. So thank you to everyone who's trusted me and come for help. I still love those who are probably going to leave and won't resonate with me anymore and won't believe me and won't support this. And that's okay. I'm the one who had the experience. I'm the one who left and went home and saw things as they really are and saw truth. And I can no longer sit here and pretend and lie. If I don't believe in it and I don't see it for myself to be so or to be true, then I cannot use it. I cannot rely on it. So there's many things I still do, as you know, for those that come and see me. I still see things, I still am aware of things, but it's in a very different mindset. It's no longer in a mindset of a belief system. I've broken away from the belief system, which is probably going to upset a lot of people. I'm no longer in the love and light community, even though I love you all very much. And like I said, I have no animosity to anybody. But just know that I am not the same person. I have not come back the same. You can't after going home. It's like a near-death experience. A lot of near-death experiences when they leave their body or they go through things like this, they don't return the same. They are never the same again. You see through the veil. You literally are living. I'm currently living with one foot here, which is what is necessary for the experience I'm having to help others as well. But my other foot is home. So I'm living in two worlds at once. So if you need my help and you too are not resonating, you're struggling and you don't know where to go because you're worried about being judged, ostracized, blocked, kicked out, flying monkeys, whatever it may be, if that's you and you don't know where to go, I'm here. Come and see me. I will help you. And I will help you in unconditional love because you matter. So this is not apology. I'm not apologizing. I will be authentic and truthful. And like I said, I know I'm going to hurt people. I'm going to upset people and trigger people. But it's too bad. Too bad. I can't sit back anymore and watch what I'm watching in the community and in the belief system and on this earth and love and light it away and go, oh, well, we'll just, we'll do something magical about that. I can't do that anymore. I'm here to be real. So I'll end it here because I've probably got myself in enough trouble. There's only been, I won't mention people, but there's been two that truly understand me. There's been many others. No, there's been more than that. There's been others, but there's very few. So my circle will become very small and very tight. And I'll be moving on. So this is my way of saying thank you and goodbye, but it's also my way of saying hello, I'm back in a different way. So if you need me, like I said, I'm here. Don't be afraid to come and see me. Don't be afraid to be honest and tell me what your struggle is. Don't be afraid to think that I'm going to only see you in a certain light and a belief system. I won't be. That is gone. I was literally told by Source and by the other side, get rid of all of it. You can. I still see things. Like I said, I still know the realms and the heavens, but there's a lot of information there that has changed because it's not true. And I will no longer allow love and light to make me weak and be without love. And I'll no longer allow love and light and chasing that belief system to turn me into someone who's no longer thinking for myself as a sovereign soul. All right. My name is Mary O'Rourke, and maybe I'll see some of you in the future, maybe I won't. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who's supported and been there for me and believed in me over a period of time. And for those that will no longer believe in me and support me, I love you as well. So again, I'm here if you need me. That's all I can say. Come and see me. Bye for now.